At Piña Mutual Group, we believe that a brighter financial future should be accessible to everyone. That's really important. Piña Mutual Group and its foundation has a long-standing history of investing in the community where we have a footprint. Every year, we're averaging at least 9,000, 10,000 volunteer hours that are reported and recorded. But each one of those community members always says to me, with the employees, with the leadership at Piña Mutual Group, you all authentically show up. The fact that you do support your employees, that shows that you are invested in the community. There is something so special about doing something as a collective whole where you have these shared experiences. It is worth it. Not was, it is worth it.
Our home is the training ground for her dreams policy from American Family Insurance. Insure carefully. Dream fearlessly.
Hi, I'm Kim Spanum, CEO and President of Summit Credit Union. We are so excited to sponsor another Madison 365 Women's Leadership Summit. Women's financial health is especially important to us at Summit Credit Union, and we've focused on it for more than a decade. Women are twice as likely as men to associate negative emotions with their finances, and it's no mystery why. Women still earn less than men for a variety of reasons. Women have less saved for retirement, and they're almost half as likely to invest in the stock market compared to their male counterparts. But we're also seeing positive signs. There are more female entrepreneurs than ever before, and we know from experience that women with higher levels of financial literacy tend to save more, spend more wisely, and invest more than their peers. I encourage you to use this conference as an opportunity to improve your own financial literacy and find inspiration in the incredible women joining us today. Thank you for letting us be a part of your journey.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Upskilling and Expanding Workforce, how our educational systems are transforming the next generation for the future of work for Wisconsin. Today, we have an outstanding panel of experts here to share with us. I am Dr. Sabrina Robins. I'm the COO of Abaxent, a 100% Black-owned female technology company in Wisconsin. We are nationally and state certified and are one of the leaders for creating workforce solutions within Wisconsin. And joining me, I'd like for my outstanding panel to introduce themselves. I will start with Ms. Xiong, then I'll go to Dr. Petty, and then Ms. Piña. If you all could take about 45 seconds to quickly introduce yourselves so that we can get to the questions that I have for you today. Ms. Xiong?
Great, thank you, Dr. Robbins. Hi, everyone. So I'm Poyee Xiong, and I work in the Appleton Area School District. I'm a equitable, multi-level systems of support coach and trainer. So my work is on building the capacity of teachers, current and new, to implement programs and practices, and for schools to implement program systems and practices that will provide equitable outcomes for our students. And this includes focusing in areas like equity-focused social emotional learning and culturally responsive practices and multi-tiered behavioral supports.
Thank you. Dr. Petty?
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much, Dr. Robins. I am certainly honored to be serving on this panel today. My name is Leslie Petty. I am the current Dean of the School of Academic Advancement at Madison College. I actually work with many of the industries and organizations that we'll probably be mentioning today: grants, scholarships. I oversee institutionalized adults programs, high school completion, English as a second language, customized associates programs, really across the gamut. And we could not do that without our community-based organizations, very similar to my colleague here, Laura, Latino Academy. We actually have partnerships with that particular organization as well. So we also, as many of you may know, we have various regional campuses where many of our corporate partners also are located, in which we also serve as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Piña?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Laura Piña. I am the workforce manager at the Latino Academy of Workforce Development. We provide bilingual education, job trainings, and employment programs in Dane County. And at our organization, we believe that inclusive employment builds upon traditional diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. We align with businesses and different organizations to kind of help our students, as well as we partner with employers and community-based organizations to make sure our students achieve economical stability in Dane County.
Outstanding. And I also like to thank Madison 365 for hosting this wonderful panel and giving us the opportunity to talk about such an important subject today. So I'll start right off with our first question. Well, first I want to say that we will discuss 3 topic areas. The first is dealing with access. Second is workforce readiness. And the third area is the policy and approach towards workforce development, upskilling, and expanding our workforce. So our first question, I'd like to, we'll start with access. And the first question I will ask Dr. Petty to start us off with. And it's, the overall future of work will be in STEM. But the access to employment will depend on kids, specifically Black, Brown, and Indigenous children, will have access to, with regards to technology, resources, programs in their schools. What programs or opportunities are you aware of to offer kids access?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Robins. So first, let me just kind of give a little bit of context about STEM and how critical it is for us to ensure that students of color have an opportunity to at least be exposed to this particular area. So studies have shown that 89% of STEM professionals are white and 72% are male, okay? In the US, there are currently more non-white students in the US than white students, but you still have the population that are in the STEM industry that are still the white population. So first and foremost, we need to be aware of where STEM finds itself. There are many organizations, there are many institutions across Madison across actually the state, in which students can take advantage of. One example is I'll just say Madison College. Okay, Madison College has a dual enrollment. Madison College is the only one that has a dual enrollment in STEM for high school students. For example, if students wish to study STEM, especially in the MMSD, the Madison area, the Madison school district, that particular, there's an opportunity there for students in high school to essentially graduate with an associate's degree. They start out as a freshman in the STEM industry. They're part of Madison College. Within 4 years, they're not only graduating with a high school diploma, but they're also completing an associate's degree. It's a pretty successful program across the board that comes out of our School of Engineering. But more importantly, the state also has the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction programs, which is known to help students within this particular area, but it's an unknown program. We got to do a better part. We have to do much better in promoting STEM across students of color. It's usually low economic, underrepresented students, Black and brown students that don't have that opportunity. There are one particular organization, MADAM, that focuses on women, females in STEM, as well as another one that's called Door of Hope. Door of Hope is also another STEM program for high school students. It's the exposure is what we need to do to help expose our students, because it is a field that is dominated by whites and males that are not really, are non-whites are not as much as exposed.
Thank you. You mentioned two organizations, MADAM, and I forgot the other. Would you mind putting those in the chat for us?
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Door of Hope. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, Door of Hope. So what we will do, they will mention information, and then I'll ask them to go ahead and put it in the chat so that you all can have access to that information. We want to help with the promotion of making sure that more people are aware of these outstanding resources. So Dr. Petty did a wonderful job of talking about the Madison area, Dane County, and some statewide. But we do have someone from Northeast Wisconsin, and she can talk with us. Dr. Xiong, do you have any insights regarding this question?
Well, I can talk about, what we can do K-12 to expand experiences and access to our students, especially our students of color. And that needs to start with creating opportunity to show students that they belong in these fields. They need to see professionals that look like them. They need to have the hands-on experiences it's to show that, hey, people in these fields look like them and they can be successful. And also our curriculum needs to elevate the experiences and contributions of people of color to STEM throughout the ages. And our kids need to see that, it's not just a crazy white person with white hair, right? But there are, STEM contributors who have found success and look just like them. And our teachers, they play a valuable role in impacting diversity in STEM by encouraging our students to pursue careers in STEM. And there are two programs, school programs that I can speak a little bit to. And by no means I'm not an expert in these areas, but one, Project Lead the Way. I was at a school that had Project Lead the Way, and it's a K-12 program, and students can actually get college credit for these courses, and they focus on engineering, computer science, biomedical. There's mentorship with STEM organizations to teach students lab skills and exposure to tools. And even just having computer science courses as a start in schools. There's a TEALS program, Technology, Education, and Literacy in Schools, that program that brings professionals in the computer science field to work with classroom teachers. So they are co-teaching with students. So the more exposure our students get to people who look like them, hands-on experiences, the more we can encourage and have students of color in these STEM areas.
Yeah. I love how you all have incorporated the importance of representation as well, right? It's hard to be what you can't see. And you mentioned two very significant statewide programs, I believe, Project Lead the Way. Are there any criterion available or that students must need in order to participate in Project Lead the Way that you know of?
Not that I know of, but I know that the teachers have to be certified in Project Lead the Way. So this is an additional certification to your teaching license to teach the courses.
Okay, wonderful. If you could put those two programs in the chat. And I just have to ask you, Ms. Piña, can you also talk about this question as well? But since you're with the Latino Academy, focus on Latinos and Latinx community and the importance of participating and having access.
Of course, as my colleagues have mentioned here, I think it's important that there is a mentorship and some type of representation. It shows not only kids, but as well as adults that they are able to exceed in STEM and that they have a possibility in improving their lives with STEM. I mean, it's something that it's starting to be more popular now. I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't know about STEM until when I was in high school. And I'm like, what is STEM? What does that stand for? So I think now that it's becoming more of a known thing in our community, it's important that we have that representation, not even just of all minority groups, honestly. And the Latino Academy actually offers free Google certificate classes that you can take. You don't have to be Latino to join the Latino Academy. You can be of any race, gender, whatever you want to identify yourself as. But we do offer these classes like for IT support if you're into IT, or even as project management. So I can definitely share those informations with you all. And we accept kids as young as 13 years old. It's at your own pace kind of level. And so far, we've had some students that have taken it and have actually learned a little bit about how to use a computer even. So I think like having those types of access programs would be beneficial for everyone, even in our Hispanic community.
Excellent. Would you mind putting that information in the chat as well? I know I have some students and adults that could benefit from having that level of access, especially self-paced on there. And then you guys are so smart and wonderful. You've answered like 3 questions in my one. I just want to say, let's see. We talked about access. Here's another twist on that same topic, and it's why is it not enough that kids have access to technology in schools, such as iPads and Chromebooks, etc., in order to prepare children for the future of work? Who would like to start? Last time I started with Dr. Petty, but this time I'll start with Ms. Xiong.
That's great, thank you. I'm going to quote Dr. Michael Crow. He's the president of Arizona State University and led an increased graduation rates for students of color by providing creative ways for them to access employment. And he says that students' continued passive consumption of content tied neither to building job skills nor emotional intelligence will not make students happier contributing members of society or 21st century skills. And I think that just hits it right on that. We can provide, we can send kids to the best schools with the most advanced technologies. We can give them access to these tools, but if they're not taught how to use these tools and how these tools can help them to be successful, and then their role in society, we're actually not doing them any the justice that we think we are.
Yeah. Dr. Petty?
So I love that statement. That is so true. It is so important for us to ensure that our students have the resources. And it typically starts with the educators and the counselors in the school. It's and also the importance of having those educators and counselors that look like them, that have shared experiences like they do, whereas they can certainly connect. They can certainly connect. I think that is so important for our students. I think that our students also, we have to think about mental health. This has been, this generation has gone through something that many generations have not experienced. So I think it's almost what I look at, especially with the student population that I serve. I serve a student population with, is a BIPOC group, low socioeconomic. We also have refugees, students that come, that we serve, that we educate and serve. But I look at it as, when we educate our students, we should look at it through a lens of that many of us have heard of wraparound care. Okay, so it's more than just educating students with their basic educational skills that we give them academically, but we also have to give them services and resources. We have to ensure that they have the resources that are available to them. And that's broadband, making sure they have technology outside of school. We have to also make sure that they have a nutritious meal. We think about, let's educate these kids, but these kids are also, there's so many other factors that come into play when they need to be, in order for them to be successful, they have to have all of these other basic skills, basic resources to help them. So I say that we should be thinking of, educators and counselors should be thinking of creating an infrastructure or a system that is a wraparound system to ensure students that will have those resources to be successful in the classroom.
Yes. All right. Would you like to jump in, Ms. Piña?
Of course. Leslie brought some amazing points, and I actually do support that they students need a lot of support, especially right now. We are in a pandemic. I don't think anybody else has experienced what life is like with education being, you have to basically teach yourself the materials that you wish you would learn in person with a teacher. Another thing, encouraging students to come on, we got this, you got this. And just, especially with mental health, I think is a big thing that everyone has brought up that I 100% agree with. And as well as guidance, there's a life outside of being stuck at home doing homework by yourself. We're slowly getting it back to somewhat of a normal life, but at the same time, we need to show that to our kids and adults, especially. I know some who, even as a college student myself going through the pandemic, I thought, where is this going to end? I don't want to be in online school for the rest of my college years. And having that person, like a guidance counselor tell me like, you got this. Like once we're back in person, you've got this. I mean, this is not going to be forever. Hopefully not. But yeah, I agree with everybody that everyone has said.
I really like that all of you included, and I'm just going to wrap it up on this and say the importance of inspiration, the ability to dream, love and kindness and patience to go along with the books, the 1, 2, 3s and the ABCs. Our kids are still in need of that. Our adults, whoever is participating in these upskilling sources, they need it too, whether it's an adult. And I love that you all included that. And it's a great reason why Access Enough is not alone. Human interaction and human kindness is needed to go along with that. So this closes out our discussion on access. I didn't know if someone could check in the moderation, the chat to see if any questions came through or comments. I look when I just see questions for us, but hopefully if others are listening, that they can jump in. We're going to move into the section where we talk a little bit about workforce readiness. And what does workforce readiness means? It means having the fundamental skills to do today's jobs. And in order to do that, we need more training, whether it's technical skills, soft skills, or other types of a better sense of cultural understanding of the workplace and of teams that you're on. So that's the area that we're talking about. And I'd like to start with Ms. Piña. The question is, there is a talent deficiency within our state. What types of talent does the future of our work require? But I do want to say, I don't think we actually have a talent deficiency. I believe our systems are not inclusive enough to look at various types of talents and abilities. So if you could just talk from that standpoint, what do you see as an expert?
I would have to say a little bit of more computer skills, especially for our adults. A lot of them may know how to turn on a computer, but don't know how to use specific programs like Microsoft or Google. And luckily at the Latino Academy, we kind of provide a little bit of guidance for our Hispanic population who, they don't usually have the time to learn about a computer, but we'll be able to be there to help them, guide them to use the computer if they have a class with us, because most of our classes are still online. Another skill I would say would be communication wise. A lot of our children, a lot of younger folks are, we're kind of isolated from socializing a little bit. And we kind of do need that, especially now if we're entering a more professional background or environment. We need to know how to speak, what kind of vocabulary to use. And the big one that I really want to emphasize is cultural awareness. I think that that's something that we do lack of in a lot of places. Where even like as myself, I wasn't aware about so many cultures and how the different opportunities of learning about different cultures and different people there are. And being open-mindedness, like that's a big part of that too, being able to keep your mind open and learning about other people, understanding their situations, not just assuming something. So I think the big one for me would be cultural awareness.
Excellent. That first area you talked about basic computer skills and all of that. We call that digital literacy. And so looking at digital literacy, a lot of the jobs, even if you have a frontline production job, typically you have to submit your timesheet in some type of system. And you certainly want to know how to do that. Applying for jobs, that is totally different than what it had been. And without basic skills, then your outcomes or the ability to get jobs with livable wages are significantly decreased without these foundational literacy skills. So I see you shaking your head, Dr. Patty, so I'm going to call on you. Okay, you have any ideas about this?
I'm shaking my head because Ms. Piña is right on target with the technology or digital literacy. And, the one thing I can say is that this is relevant in all industries. Okay, so we have an incredible shortage in all industries. And with that, I can go into more details, but we have a Wisconsin Job Center. The Wisconsin Job Center has about 150,000 jobs. 150,000 jobs. Back in December 2021, there was about that amount of jobs in it. Only 50,000 jobs people were actively looking. Okay. So there's a huge shortage. There's a huge shortage when it comes to talent across the state. The 2020 census also has indicated that Wisconsin's growth was only 3.6%. The national growth is 7.4%.
Oh.
So we are behind in growing the people from migrating from other states coming in, as well as, jobs within. So as far as talent, we have there's a deficiency in technology, healthcare, manufacturing, construction. They are our top jobs across the state of Wisconsin. But it's also in finance, it's also in government, it's also in other sectors. And so the areas, the particular specific skills that was mentioned by Ms. Piña is, that's just sort of the tip of the iceberg as far as skill sets, in which I think later we're going to dive a little deeper as far as how do we kind of expand and really grow within that area. But I think that is something that's really important, that, when we think about deficiency or skills or talent that we need, we also need to think about sort of that context or the big picture of how do we get to where we are?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to agree with both of you. I know as the moderator, I shouldn't do that, but it's just us. So I'd like to go ahead and agree and affirm you. And also say that Wisconsin in particular has the dire need to go into what they're calling the hidden talent or the near workforce ready, or those that are historically marginalized and overlooked. There's been a significant disinvestment in those that have neurodiversity or our vets and other groups that we have not been training because of systemic bias and sometimes structural racism. So what can we do?
I definitely agree. I think also that has also hurt us, and this is really, a federal regulation, is the H-1B visas. We're only allowed 65,000 a year across the country. And that will definitely hurt, that hurts our workforce, across the country, not only the state, but across the country. When you have, almost, I'm not sure why the number is 65,000. And then I think it's another 20,000 for graduate students, folks with a graduate degree, but it's still, that's a workforce. If we could expand that.
It's an emergency.
Exactly. If we could expand that number, I think that it could make a dent or move a needle to a certain degree.
Yep. And then I want to say, news alert, news flash, we have a question. And from the audience, it says, what barriers are workers experiencing that prevents them from changing jobs or learning new skills? What can employers do to support those kinds of efforts. Before we were talking more about the employee or the individual. So anyone want to, if you could look in the chat and see the question from the audience, if someone would like to jump in on that.
So I'll start and answer this real quick. There are several barriers that workers can experience. One particular barrier that I know for sure, because it's a barrier for students as well, is childcare. Childcare is critical, and I'm not talking just childcare for first shift, 9 to 5. I'm talking childcare for second and third shift. That is incredibly important. Also, Wisconsin, as we know, is a state that has a huge rural population. Transportation is also incredibly important. Transportation is also important to many of our residents in this state. And so I think that that's another one, but also transportation is also important to those that live more in the, the urban part or more of the inner city areas, the bigger city areas as well. So I think that that's really critical and important. So, and access, right? Access to training, access to education, and access to information about available opportunities. It's also
and I wanted to say, you're right. The studies show that the 3 top barriers are housing, transportation, and childcare. And you talked a little bit from the urban experience. I live in Appleton, so it's more rural in that area. And so it's even more key. So those that live in the outlying areas don't even hear, like you said, about those access to the programs that are available. How about Ms. Xiong or Ms. Piña? Any contributions to this question you could like to make?
When we going back to talking about talent deficiency, I think another deficiency that we are seeing, kind of on an extreme continuum. Either now it's like either they have it or they don't have it. But I think agency, students' agency, and even adult agency, ownership and purpose. So I think a lot of what we need to do K-12 to get our students ready to be active participation in democracy and in education and in politics and in economics is to build your why. And I think when you know your why, that is your agency to learn new skills, to move, to the next sector, to the next part in your career, in your life. And then also there is my colleagues were talking earlier about cultural awareness among employers. I think growing that so that we're having asset-based conversations about our employees versus deficit-based, right? And once we understand cultural behaviors, we can look at them through the lens of, that strength-based, that asset-based lens about people and culture and why they behave the way they do or operate the way they do.
Okay. And then just giving a nod that this is the Women's Summit. So I want to make sure that we give space for us to speak directly about women of color and the barriers that we face. We face, in addition to those top ones, we have additional barriers. So from a employer standpoint and someone, I'm going to throw this in, how can we get more of us into skilled trades and other manufacturing type roles? And what can employers do to help facilitate that?
So skilled trades actually is an area that has always been an issue, and more so with women, How many women, when you go on construction sites, how many women do you see on those construction sites? On the roads, building buildings,
Right.
you don't see very many, right? Exactly. And so I think it is so important for, again, for us, there are women that are out there. Again, for those women to also be the educators, to also be, to have a platform to show that, this skill set is a skill set for women as well. One thing I do want to mention that, again, is access, right? It is access to ensure that, women are informed about this. So the Boys and Girls Club of Dane County, they are actually, they have, and I actually chair the board, it's called the Mckenzie Regional Workforce Center, and it's a center for skilled trades, right? It's a center for skilled trades in which this is an opportunity for youth, male, women, people of color, to have an opportunity to learn about these trades. This is a great opportunity to really promote skilled trades across all spectrums. I'll be happy to put the information in the chat, but I think this is another opportunity. This is access, right? This is access. Perhaps women are not aware of this opportunity at Madison College. Women are not aware of this opportunity at Big Step. There's a lot of organizations across across Wisconsin that offer this, but it's again, it's inspiring, it's encouraging, it's showing people that having folks that look like them.
Okay, so now I've added something. It's called the lightning round because we only have 3 minutes left.
Okay.
Our last area is policy and approach. So I'm going to start with Ms. Piña. Why is it important that our local and state systems start to look at reskilling and upskilling as an overall investment rather than an expense? And how does that impact the way our systems currently approach it? And you have 1 minute.
Thank you for that. I would say that yes, overall, we should consider it as an investment rather than an expense, because when we think about investments, we think about it as that person is going to want to stay with me as an employer because I take the time and I'm taking, the expense. I don't want to say it that way, but technically, yes, the expense of, demonstrating to that person that I care about them, that I care about them moving on with their education. They would be able to offer more to the companies or the organizations that they're working for and help them, expand more as to what they can do and even expand the knowledge of the person and the team that they're working with. So I think that it is important and people should consider, giving that investment, because overall it is the investment that you care about that person or the group of people that you're wanting to do that for. And it does make a difference with families, and it makes a difference with that person, and it shows like, wow, like this person actually cares about my way of living and my way of contributing to this company, organization, or so.
All right, wonderful. Ms. Xiong?
Yeah, just going off of what Ms. Piña was saying, but it is an investment. It costs more to hire new and then give them brand new training and then give them the enrichment training, right? Versus just having your people who already know the culture of your organization, your company, and your clientele is the people you're surveying, your purpose and your vision, your mission, and then just reskilling them. It's half the work. At least.
Yeah. And also having a more inclusive financial model to also say, what does it cost to have a position open? And what impact does it have on my customer if I can't meet their needs. I can't provide the service. I can't provide the product that they need. That customer of theirs will go somewhere else, right? And so I think we don't look on the other side of what does it cost to not do these things. And we're feeling the impact of that right now with the supply chain disruptions. How about you, Dr. Petty?
So I'm going to take it in a different direction, or maybe not even in a different direction. I'm going to build on this. I'm going to build on it because you're right. It is an investment. It definitely is an investment. And so I'm going to kind of sit in the seat of the employer to let them know, okay, anyone that's in this situation and about investing in the employee, there are many different resources that are out there, many different grant opportunities that are out there that will help support training, help organizations with onboarding new employees. There's one that's called the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, in which that is a grant in which organizations can seek funding for training, seek funding for various career pathways for promotion. And some of these organizations will also receive funding back, you know, when you meet the requirements of that grant. Part of that is either you hire individuals or perhaps promote. And some of these grants will also cover the
You're talking about the Fast Forward grant.
Fast Forward grant, right, exactly. I was getting ready to mention that, yes, the Fast Forward grant, right, exactly. So this is something in which organizations, if they feel they don't have the budget, they can look at various state and federal grant opportunities in which will help them grow their talent pool, as well as incentivize, you know, give some incentives to the organization to do so.
So I'm going to put you on the spot, Dr. Petty. You talk about these wonderful things, and I recall, you know, the position you hold now. Do you offer the service to employers? Are they able to call your office? Can you talk to us a little bit about what those are?
Yes, we do. Yes, right, exactly. So we actually partner with various organizations, and I mean, so we're part of the Wisconsin Innovative and Opportunity Grants, but we also have the integrated education training that, again, we partner with organizations. We have state grants that are career pathways, again, and integrated education and training grants that I can certainly put my information down. We're always looking for organizations. We partner with community-based organizations to help actually advance their mission and training and getting their constituents, you know, educated and trained for various jobs and all. One particularly, we have a partnership with Latino Academy. Our colleagues over at Latino Academy, we have a partnership with Latino Academy on various initiatives. One in particular is our English as a Second Language program to ensure that our non-English speakers have a pathway. Because I also want to say that non-English speakers, many of them come to this country well educated. Their goal is to learn the language so they can contribute, so they can be a part of the community, of society, and perhaps, you know, continue their career that they had in their native country. So there's many different opportunities that are out there. It's really doing a better job promoting what we do and how it's done across all spectrums. And that's with my, you know, fellow colleagues that serve on this panel, as well as you, Dr. Robins. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I have a question. It's and it's off script, sorry guys. But while we're talking about employers, I'd like for each of you to take a moment to think if you could have one or two pieces of advice for employers on what they could do to help your organizations get kids ready, adults ready, or be more engaged or engaged in a different way to support the efforts of your organizations. And I'm sorry, Ms. Xiong, but you're first.
No, that's fine. It's great. Increase our partnerships, mentorships. So anytime we get volunteers from the real world, right, from the career fields into our classrooms and buildings, especially for our students of color, that is an up for us. That's great for us. And just working with local partners who we can collaborate with and really builds that not just K-12 system, but a K through life progression in place, right? So, that's one way that we need to relook at education, is that we're not just trying to get our kids through high school or to college anymore. We're trying to get them to become lifelong learners and successful global citizens.
Absolutely. Ms. Piña.
Just to piggyback onto what my colleague says, of course, increase in partnerships and apprenticeships, especially for the Latino Academy. A huge example I can give is last week we hosted our first career fair. We had 26 employers that showed up, and of those 26, we had over 100 people, participants that came who were actually looking for a job and who were actually, wanting to gain experience in the field of manufacturing and transportation. I mean, I was receiving amazing feedback from employers like, wow, we've never seen this many people actually interested in wanting to talk to us regarding a job and going into this field. So definitely for us at Latino Academy, we're always looking for volunteers, especially native English speakers too, to help practice with our students. We're always looking for partnerships with different organizations, apprenticeships, especially for our students, so that they can learn and have hands-on experience. I can't stress that enough, that I've had a feedback from our students that say, we want more, like, what else can we do? Like, we want more hands-on activities. So yeah.
Okay. Wonderful, ladies. Dr. Petty, I'm going to change the question a little bit for you. So yay, you get that. I'm going to direct the question for you is, what changes in our current tech school or 4-year university curriculums to better support a workforce development model? The other, I thought Ms. Xiong did a good job talking about it from a K-12, and Ms. Piña from a community-based, work-based type approach. Now from the schools, the colleges.
Yeah, I think that in the state of Wisconsin, I think we can do a better job creating or perhaps advancing industry sector partnerships. Industry sector partnerships can be with high schools, it could be with 4-year institutions, it could be with technical schools, community colleges, the like. But industry sector partnerships are pretty much partnering with an organization or with several organizations, and perhaps looking at various specific needs in that particular industry. So let's say there's a need in automation in manufacturing. So what happens is that organization partner with the institutions, and the institutions create in partnership with the company, the curriculum, and create a pipeline. And that could be through licensing, certification, and or a degree, either associate's or a bachelor's degree. But at the same time, it also gives that opportunity for students to have an apprenticeship, perhaps paid apprenticeship, as Laura has mentioned. So I think that brings an opportunity to have students receive an income and experience. And the organization, it's a win-win across all spectrum. And the organization has a talent pipeline in which they are educating and training those individuals into that area. So I'd say, I know you wanted me to focus in on higher education, but I think also this is also appropriate for students that probably, that's definitely in high school as well. Definitely.
Yeah. The other piece what I like about what you all are talking about, you didn't say it directly, but the non-traditional student, so those that may not be ready for university in 2 years, or they go straight into a job. There's a need for some, especially when we're talking about people of color and the poverty rates that we see across Wisconsin in particular, will have to earn and learn. And providing access to educational paths through certificates and other training that they can earn and learn and elevate not only themselves, but their families. I'm seeing that
Dr. Robins, can I just bring one more thing? I think, and I'll put it in the chat. Just as Laura has mentioned about partnering with organizations and the job fair she had, I think it's also important for our viewers, our listeners, to also know that we have a youth registered apprenticeship program in the state, in which that's an earn to learn opportunity for students. There are some situations where they could probably earn college credits, but I think that is something that we don't always talk about or know about.
Okay. I just received the message. We have 5 minutes left. I have one question that I'd like for you all to think. This is the Women's Conference. And so what message do you have for women when it comes to workforce upskilling and workforce expansion to include them? Is there an inspirational message or a piece of advice that you want specifically to share with women? And so I'll start with Ms. Piña.
Yeah, so what I've said when I was in college, even when I was I helped out with students to recruit students to the university when I was back in college. And I always said, it doesn't hurt to try. It doesn't hurt to try something new. If you don't like it, you can get out of it. If it's something that you don't see yourself in the next couple of years, there's always a way out. It's not something that is forced upon you. But I always tell students, I always tell people that I know, just it doesn't hurt to try. Even learning a new language, for example, it doesn't hurt to try. There is no limit to what age you have to be to learn a new language, especially English when you're here in the US. So I always say it doesn't hurt to try.
That is a good message. Okay, we only have a few minutes left. Ms. Xiong, your one piece of advice or source of inspiration.
I just want to share where we live in this culture where it's always a go, 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 achieve, achieve, achieve. And sometimes we have to remember that the most success is measured differently, but the ultimate success is happiness. So joy, happiness, mental health. Once you have those things, the rest will come. All
right, good job, good job. Dr. Petty?
Okay, real quick. I'm not sure who the author is. This is not me. You can look it up, but success lies not in being the best, but in doing your best.
All right, all right. I want to thank all of you for participating and sharing your wonderful insights. It's been an absolute joy and pleasure to serve as your moderator. And I also want to thank you for just being so generous with offering the resources and putting them in the chat so that when this is replayed for others, they can get the benefit and hopefully enroll in the programs. I also want to thank Henry Sanders and his team with Madison 365 for creating space for us to talk specifically about women and our role in growing and advancing the Wisconsin economic development and success for our state. Go forward.
This is 365 Media.